CRC was a motherfucker. But the Correction Reception Center in Orion, Ohio is where any convicted felon that receives a prison sentence, you go here first. I spent my time there in 1993 and 94 before they shipped me off to Pickaway Correctional Institution. My charges were Ohio Revised Code. It was a 2912.2 burglary with intent to commit felonious assault. Spent 5 months in jail while the trials went on, and I was offered a plea deal. I was looking at 2 to 15 years. Basically, I kicked in somebody's door and dragged them out into the hallway and beat the living shit out of them. So, since I kicked in his door and my foot actually entered his apartment, I was charged with burglary on that. And the intent to commit felonious assault is because he went to the hospital. And I've never really seen the outside of this place like this. Basically, my first wife was assaulted by a man. He smacked her in the mouth while I was at work over a parking spot in the back carport of the apartment. He wanted to be where she was at. This is Sallyport. This is where they bring you in at. And she refused. They won't let you go up in here, but this is where they bring you into the back of the prison. Right here. And this is at the A unit, A1, A2, the B unit, B1, B2. Anyways, he smacks her, and she calls me. I worked at Emory Air Freight. And she calls me at work, tells me this guy, because we're down the hallway from us, we did have a guy named Billy Ivory, and he was a member of the Gangster Disciples. And like I said, there was no assigned parking in the back carport. My wife put her car where he did park there a lot, but he wasn't there. And when he pulled up, he wanted her to move her car. She wasn't going to move her car. So he hauled off and smacked her in the mouth. And she didn't call the police. She called me. She could have called the police. She should have. But he would have just lied out of it, you know. But anyways, she calls me at Emory Air Freight, and I come home. And she says, yeah. I says, you know, his name is Billy Ivory. He died in prison, actually. And, she tells me, I come home from work, and I knock on the guy's door. All right, I'm like, come on out, motherfucker. I don't have tits. All right, you can't, you don't do that shit, right? So he opens up the door with the chain lock on it. All right, he's got the chain lock on it. He talked to me. I said, come on out here, bitch. Come on out here. And he reaches in his waistband. He pulls his 9. I can see it coming up. The 9 coming up. You know, and he's trying to get it through. He's trying to put it through the chain lock and the door where I'm at. But as soon as I seen it coming up, I just kicked it. I kicked the door. The chain came loose. I grabbed him in a headlock. He dropped the gun, and I had proceeded to beat the living fuck out of him. And then after all that happened, after I jumped on him, he goes back in the apartment. Nobody calls the cops. I go back in my apartment. Me and my wife were calmed down, blah, blah. We leave. We go pick up some friends of ours because I think the whole thing's over. We go pick up some friends of ours, and we're headed back into the house, just sitting. But when we had a security door, and when I opened that door with me and my friends, there had to be 12, 13 people standing there. Gangsters, disciples. So I knew what was about to happen. And I'm not going out like a bitch. But anyways, they picked up my friend's wife and slammed her on the ground. My wife went and sat in the car, because I told her to go, blah, blah, blah. They kept knocking me down and knocking me down. I kept getting back up until my friends finally dragged me into the car. They beat the fire out of me. But I got a couple of them. We had a 2-story balcony. Like when I opened that front door and came in the lobby of it, And I looked up, and this guy had to have been, he was a gangster disciple. He had to have been, every bit of 250 pounds. But he jumped over that balcony and just landed right on my back in 1993. Right on my back. All right. So that's why I'm having issues today. That's one part of it. The slip disc. But anyways, I'm looking at 2 to 15 years for this. All right. And I felt like I didn't do shit wrong. They kept coming at me with plea deals. And when I, no offense to anybody, but when I went in front of the judge, he just happened to be an African American. My prosecutor just happened to be African American. My accuser just happened to be African American. But he was playing the victim. See, they didn't tell them about him smacking her. We tried to bring that up in court, why I would do it, but they were listening to the victim. And they were listening to the victim. Literally, when they asked this gentleman off the stand, could he identify myself, and he pointed at me, and he goes, he called me the N-word. That's what he said in open court. I'm pretty sure those words were flying. Because, all of them were flying when we're getting kicked around and trying to jump up and trying to protect everybody. Maybe that happened. But what he didn't say is that he assaulted my wife. And my wife did not call the police. But anyways, they gave me another chance to take the plea deal, to plead guilty, and just get 1 year of 1 year jail sentence and 5 years parole. And I wasn't going for that. Because he put his hands on my wife, and I beat the fuck out of him for it. That's justice. That's it. Right? So I wasn't going for it. And the judge, he really did try to get me to take the plea. But I wouldn't. Because he had to do something. I think it was Judge Petzold. Okay. Yeah, it was Judge Petzold. And he was trying to get me to take the deal. He wasn't doing it in open court. He was trying to get me to take the deal because he knew that it was street justice, and a lot of people would have done what I did. Didn't matter if it was black, white, green, yellow. Somebody put their hands on my wife. But I wouldn't take the deal, and he asked me. I'm looking at 2 to 15. I had a pretty shitty lawyer. I did not take the deal, and the judge asked me if I had anything I wanted to say before he passed the sentence, and he gave me a chance to speak. I said, I don't know what you're trying to teach me here, but if you think I've committed some kind of crime, then I'll have to go with that. I said, but I'll do the same thing tomorrow if somebody offends my wife, puts their hands on my wife or my children, and I stuck my hands out like this, and I said, if you want to lock me up for that, then you go ahead. So the judge sentenced me to 2 to 15 years. Right? So when I get there, first I spent 5 months in jail waiting on the trial. I wish I could see this further. I spent 5 months in Montgomery County Jail waiting on a trial. Lost a really good job over that. And they kept trying to get me to take the deal, and I would not take the deal. So the judge sentenced me to 2 to 15. And I went to jail, and then I came here to CRC. I never had any trouble with inmates at CRC because I was a cadre. That's where I wasn't locked up 24/7 like they are. Somehow they gave me cadre status, which meant that I was able to do tasks for the captains and stuff like that. I was allowed to walk around the prison and deliver a message from here to there. I also, the criminally insane are on D unit, and these guys are never allowed out of their fucking cells unless they take a shower. And at the time, you were allowed to smoke in Ohio prisons and stuff like that. I would be allowed to go around. I would go into the D unit. They would give me cigarettes, and I would hand it to the inmate under, with the door slot. But if he wanted it lit, they weren't allowed to have lighters in their rooms. We were back. The other inmates were, but I was also allowed to sit and dictate letters for them because they weren't supposed to have pens or pencils in their cells. They're criminally insane. And some of the stuff that they would say was ridiculous. Now, there was one time that I was coming out of the chow hall before I got cadre status. I was coming out of the chow hall, and this CO, they give you 2 minutes to eat at CRC. 2 minutes. And to this day, I still eat really fast because of that. They give you 2 minutes. That's it. And your first few weeks or first month in there, that you're not allowed to have any money, no phone calls, nothing like that until you get processed. So that meal, if you're not hustling and getting soups and stuff like that, which you can't hustle and get soups that well, you can't get snacks that well because the people that are in our units, they're waiting on their money too. But I come out of the chow hall, and I'm with one of my buddies that I still hang with today. And this CO, I forget his fucking name. And he goes, yeah. Act like he was talking to something. That's that guy who's in my house. And we caught him. He got caught in my front yard touching himself. He's pointing at me. And I'm looking around like, what? And he said it again. And so I kind of popped off. I wasn't really used to somebody just being able to say what they want and you can't do shit about it. But I popped off. I wasn't touching myself. I was touching your mama. And of course they grabbed me and threw me in the hole. Gave me a reckless eye. It was a reckless eyeball. They said I looked at him funny and hard. I took a couple thumps to the back for that. But when they put me in the hole there, I was in the same cell that Ariel Castro killed himself in. And let's talk about this. Ariel Castro was the Cleveland guy, the guy in Cleveland that had these hostages for 11 years, and he ended up dying here in the hole. But the hole, if you watch the documentary of Corrections Reception Center, you can see Big Chew. He was working there then. Right, Big Chew. He's the one that takes you in and out of the hole. He was a specialist. He was a CO. But anyways, the thing of the hole is, you don't go down there with sheets. You don't get sheets, especially if you're on suicide watch. So how Castro hung himself is beyond me, but I've got an idea. I think he got a help from a few guards. And anyways, I ended up in the hole there. Now, while I was there, prison life isn't as much like they say on TV. Now, I did see stabbings. I heard of one rape because in the prison system back then, they would call it gay for the stay or whatever it was. Some of these straight men in there would actually pick a wife. That's normally somebody that was already gay on the streets. But somebody gets turned out would be like a child molester or a rapist or something. Those people would get turned out. That's called being turned out, But for the most part, there were married couples in prison. People didn't, they're, and then they'd get out and pretend like that they weren't gay. Gay for the stay stuff. I saw it. I saw female COs that were having relationships with the men. And if the female CO got caught, they didn't fire her. They sent her to another institution, and the guys from the one institution that they were banging would write to the other guys, and they would know she was hot. But I was lucky here because I was on cadre status. Then they shipped me over to Pickaway Correctional. Which Pickaway Correctional, if you look in the Guinness Book of World Records, the longest incarceration that was served came from Pickaway Correctional Institution. There was a lady there who spent 99 years back when it was a female type of place. But look that up. I went to Pickaway, and I'll tell you a story about Pickaway. There was this CEO that worked for Pickaway Correctional Institution, whom the police had a warrant out for his arrest. So instead of the local police putting the warrant out for his arrest, the local police dealing with it, they turned it over to State Highway Patrol, because the State Highway Patrol is what runs if there's a prison riot or something like that, they come in. So we're all sitting there in the chow hall at CRC. And at CRC in the chow hall, or at Pickaway. At Pickaway in the chow hall, they'll let you talk a little bit as long as you're not loud, but we're all sitting there talking, and the CEO's just, they were total assholes. The CEOs that work in these places are fucking pricks. Because you can't do anything. You can't say nothing back, nothing. They got complete control over you. So if they got something bothering them at home, they damn sure bring it in there. I never had any trouble with inmates. Once in a while, you get a little, but you can stick your chest out at an inmate. Well, what? You can't do that to a CO. And I saw them constantly, especially at CRC. In that other video where that guy walks up to the CO walks up to the guys, what you got on you? Let me check you. I'll be looking at you. Get. They did that shit constantly because you couldn't say nothing, and they'd get away with it. But anyways, they were the police, the state. So we're sitting here in the chow hall, right? We're about ready to go, and all of a sudden these state boys come rushing in. We thought it was for us, right? So we're gonna hit the wall. You know what I'm saying? We're hitting the wall, but they dragged the CO out and arrested him right in front of all them inmates. And there's nothing funnier than 200 men going, yeah, take his ass out, take him out. I saw that once. And then for a while I worked in the ODR, the officer's dining room, because my background was in culinary and they knew that. So that meant that I had some special privilege. Like there was a chow hall for the inmates and a chow hall for the officers, because they would work, 3 days on, 3 days off. And these officers would bring stuff in, like steaks and sausage and chicken, whatever they wanted to eat. And me and another cook was the ones that got to cook it for them. And we also got to eat it. And every once in a while, they would bring us in a Burger King or something like that, a beer once in a while, once in a great while. Most of the stuff that comes into the prisons, contraband-wise, is through the CO. When they talk about your prison wallet, where you can keister things, you tape something up real tight and stick it in your ass. Because in visits, here there's no contact with it. Some of the other places, like Pickaway, there was contact visits. You could keister, you could do it. But I'm going to tell you, most of the times, about 60% of the time that there was a visit, afterwards they're supposed to strip search you and send you back to your cell. You don't know how many times I've seen guards say, man, fuck it, just go. Just go. They didn't even search you half the time. But this place really taught me a lesson. What's it like to be an inmate at CRC? It was horrible. Pickaway wasn't so bad. I had another good job there. I was a captain's clerk. See, if you get in, you get the good jobs. You don't get messed with. Now, as a captain's clerk, any write-up that a inmate got, like it would come across my desk actually for filing. Now they do it all electronically, but back then the paper would come across where I was at for filing. I'm supposed to stamp it and put it in the right place. Stamp it and put it in the right place. And then it goes off to the infraction board. Because if you get in trouble in prison, you literally go to court, to the infraction board. But if that paperwork isn't in the file, then you don't go to the infraction board. And I can only get away with that a few times here and there, right? And that paid. That paid very well. Also, I can put people on and off phone lists, visit lists, stuff like that. I can do shit like that. So people were generally cool with me because of that. It just depends on, just like in the outside world, it depends on who you are. or where you're working in the prison. They also have OPI, Ohio Prison Industries, where you can get in there and you can actually make some pretty good state pay. Making license plates, making furniture, making school stuff like that. But so when I'm at PCI, so I get over to PCI. My home prison was this one. They moved me from Corrections Reception Center over here to PCI, and that's where I was doing my time, the remainder of my time. I didn't get a flat sentence. I got 2 to 15. So after the my first parole hearing, or furlough, or reduction of sentence hearing, I didn't think I was going to get. They call it getting paid. When you go up to see the board and they give you furlough and they give you parole and they let you out, they give you ER. That's you're getting paid, and they don't pay anybody. I mean, it's really hard to get paid. So we had 269 inmates that were going up for the day that I went up to see the board. All right, and the board was asking me, and I had already been. I was close to the 2-year mark. And I had already been in there. I was used to it. I didn't expect them to do anything anyway. So they said, hey, why should we reduce your sentence or get you on a work furlough or something? Why should we do that for you? And I said, well, I'm coming up on my 2 years. I said, I really don't care if you pay me or not. I said, I could serve my time and stay out of trouble. Like I said, my time was almost up. You can't even see pick away. My time was almost up anyway, and I didn't expect them to do anything. So I said, I don't care if you pay me or not. I said, I can just do my time quietly. And, when I get back out, I can just do everything I can and just never come back to a place like this. All right? I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to sit there and beg them. I'm not going to do any of that. And I'll be damned if they didn't pay me. They let me out with a year parole. First, I went to downtown Columbus. I lived in a halfway house for about 4 months. And I got a job with the Columbus Dispatch, working in the printing thing over there. I made my own money, paid my own rent there. And I was doing so well in that furlough that they released me from the furlough, and I went up to the board. I got high recommendations. They kept me on parole for 6 months, and then I went out. I got off of it completely free. Now let me see here. How does Pickaway look today? I'm trying to figure out where I was at. This is Sallyport where they bring you in the Pickaway. This is part of the yard. That's the chow hall. This over here is OPI. These are the housing units right here. This is A unit. That's where I was at on that one. Let me see here. This is all OPI Prison Industries. Right here at Pickaway. Over here, actually this is A. That's the chow hall. They put 2 buildings up here that weren't there when I was there. I don't know what that is. This used to be the yard. Yeah, so the units are right here, actually. So I remember this right here is commissary. Yeah, they changed that a lot. Over here at Orient. Oh, this training academy right here, we'd be in the prison yard over here or over at CRC, and in this training academy, they're actually teaching these officers how to shoot. And we'd hear it all the time. Boom, 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 boom. They'd be shooting. The Feeble-Minded Institute right there. This is what I'm talking about, that lady that did 99 years. She did it, and they have updated this prison a lot since I've been there. But anyways, that's my little prison story. It brings back a lot of memories. I'll tell you that now. This here is CRC, what it looks like above there. The back Sallyport is right here. This is the chow hall. These two are the reception units. These you'll sit on these forever. They're closest to the chow hall because they don't want you to be outside that quick. They want you in and out. They just bring you in. This is where you're sitting and waiting. All right, this is A unit, B unit, C unit. This is the unit for the criminally insane, right here. Once I moved out of here, they moved me over here, and I was able to walk, go freely. I had a lot of free time during the day, and I really liked it. If I'm going to be in prison, that's. This right here is the gym and the school. Now they had this diamond, but we never used it back then. And when I went to prison, my wife was actually a couple weeks pregnant when this happened. When I went to prison, and actually she was the first time I met my son was at Pickaway. I got a special visit. They did give me a special visit after she had him. So that's my little prison story. I'll tell you what, toughens you up and lets you know how the world is. Is that some of these people that live on YouTube and do the shit they do, they'd be dead in a minute. That's why I'm defensive. You don't put up with no shit from nobody, man. Fuck that. And they'll lie and say shit. They'll lie, like Vinny. He wouldn't last 5 minutes in fucking prison. None. Lie and say shit. Oh, it's okay to masturbate to a 14-year-old. That's not what was said. What was said was, who's gonna catch you? I said people sit on the internet and they masturbate to whatever they want. It's not illegal to masturbate to whatever you want, unless somebody catches you and tells on you. That's what I said. I didn't say I do that or it's okay. I said, but who's gonna tell on you if it's just you? That's what I said. The guy's a fucking idiot. I wish I had ran into him in the penitentiary, because he wouldn't last 5 fucking minutes. He wouldn't last 5 fucking minutes.